Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I just want to kind of distill down what my colleague, Ms. Jayapal, is talking about, and I am definitely going to yield some time to her. I think our concern is that because somebody says something, that doesn't make it evidence. And right now, what we have is people saying, well, we have evidence. As attorneys, we know that that evidence has to be tested in court. And that is what due process really looks like. It's not just saying that somebody is MS-13. It is a matter of a judge determining whether or not that evidence would be admissible and having the ability to look at the credibility of the witness offering that evidence, such as when we're talking about Kilmer. If we look at that, it says I've got a couple of articles. There's an article that says government's case against Abrego Garcia is based on PG County cop who was on the SA's do not call list because he was not a credible witness. The only person that said that he was MS-13 is a cop that ended up being, I don't think he got fired, but he definitely, never mind. He did get fired. So we're going to say that we're going to base our entire case, so to speak. This is why we have courts. This is why we are talking about due process, because that's what it looks like. It looks like more than somebody. Listen, I can't tell you how many lies are made up by MAGA followers about me. I done been all kinds of things, and none of it is true just because they put it out there on social media. That is the problem that we're having right now in this country, is that it seems like nobody cares about the truth anymore. And what we're trying to do is say we have a fact finding, and let me be clear. I am not saying that the criminal justice system or any other justice system has ever always been perfect. I am not trying to say that. But we do have a system, and that system is supposed to be based upon the Constitution. And right now, like literally due process comes from the Constitution. This should be the highest protections that one can have in the land. And right now, it seems like y'all don't care about the Constitution unless it's the Second Amendment. And that's misinterpreted as well, okay? There's other amendments to the Constitution. And we don't get to just change it because our fearless leader says that he doesn't like certain parts of the Constitution. We have a process, again, to get amendments, right? There are people that don't like the fact that there was an amendment so that women could vote. And guess what? We ended up with something like the SAVE Act because we don't want women to vote. Like, literally, but I'm getting off track, so I'm going to go back because I know that Ms. Jayapal wanted some time. So I will yield my time to the gentle lady from Washington. Thank you.
Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to briefly address a point brought up by the representative from Texas, Ms. Crockett, who accused me and my colleagues over here of ignoring the Constitution. And if that were true, that'd be a very serious matter. So I did want to just inquire as to what exactly the accusation is. So I'll happily yield to the gentlewoman from Texas if she'd like to respond. Do you believe that someone who has snuck into our country, entered the United States illegally, that the due process requirements for that individual are the same as they are for a U.S. citizen?
I thought the question was for me, but it seems like the lawyers on this side or just my entire team knows the answer. Per the Constitution, yes, if you are on our soil, you are guaranteed due process. And the fact that there's even a question is why we are struggling right now. In addition to an additional issue that I have is the executive order that was signed by the president that seemed to get rid of birthright citizenship, which also is laid out in the Constitution, which is why even the most conservative judges have ruled against. There is no one that has ruled that that was okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So
thank you.
That's simply untrue. The Supreme Court has made it very clear that due process is a context-dependent inquiry. And someone who is here illegally in this country facing deportation, the requirements of due process are specific to that context. And the problem is that during the last administration, we had 10 million people who came into this country without the least amount of vetting. And it's created an enormous backlog in our immigration courts. Now, what we actually did in a measure that we passed in this committee a couple weeks ago, which I believe every member of the Democrat minority opposed, is we sought to provide the resources for our immigration courts to operate in a fair and efficacious manner by increasing the number of immigration judges, of lawyers, of courtrooms, in order to remove this backlog of millions of cases that now exist. So I think it's highly problematic to hear arguments about due process from the side that is actually voting against providing the resources that are needed for due process. But I think it's even more problematic to make the argument that an illegal immigrant, perhaps with a criminal record facing deportation, should receive the full measure of due process that an American citizen does. That simply is not what the Constitution requires.
Mr. Chairman.
Can I answer, since you still have time?
Yeah, I'd be happy to yield for a response.
Okay, thank you so much. So I just want to clarify, and I know that there's lawyers on that side. It's just like we have different standards in general. Like you have a higher standard when it comes to a criminal case versus a civil case, right? So its preponderance is going to be the burden on a civil case, and then it's going to be higher as relates to a criminal case, right? It's beyond a reasonable doubt. That is going to be the burden of proof. When the Supreme Court was making distinctions, the distinctions weren't necessarily between is this person a citizen or is this person not. It wasn't a matter of certain people are not allowed to have due process, but it's kind of like there's different ways to evaluate things. The amount of protections that you are going to have in any criminal case. If you think about those that are charged with murder, whether they are a citizen or not, guess what? The burden of proof is still going to be the same. The burden of proof is still going to be beyond a reasonable doubt. There was never a distinction that said somehow, dependent upon your status, you somehow lose your access to due process. And frankly, that is honestly the only thing that the Supreme Court has been consistent on, is that there are due process rights that are going to be afforded to everyone that is found within our jurisdiction in the United States. I have not seen a case where they have said, no, it's okay for someone not to have due process. That is why the plane that was about to leave Texas, they said stop the plane literally at 1 a.m, because there had not been due process for those that were currently being held in the administration's custody. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I think I understand your position a little better now. I can't say I agree with everything you said, but I would just say perhaps be careful with throwing out accusations or ignoring the Constitution, without carefully considering those statements, because the demands of due process is not just something that is the same in every context. It's
Mr.
very
Chairman,
much
I have
context
a unanimous consent request.
Gentlelady is recognized for unanimous consent.
I'd like to submit for the record the Constitution of the United States Fifth Amendment explained, so that the gentleman can see exactly what is in the Constitution, where it says no person shall be deprived of due process.
I would just point out the Supreme Court, as the gentleman from California has said, has firmly, I'm quoting the Rehnquist from Justice Rehnquist, has firmly and repeatedly endorsed the proposition that Congress may make rules as to aliens that would be unacceptable if applied to citizens.
But currently the Constitution says
it's not the same process due American citizens.
Mr. Chairman, it just says no person.
The Fifth Amendment will be entered in front of the Judiciary
Thank you
Committee's
so
record.
much. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows what the Fifth Amendment says.
We will take
Maybe
that.
we could introduce the 14th Amendment too, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that's fine too. Well, you can introduce the whole Constitution. God bless you. Now I got 3 of you who are in line, and I'll defer to the ranking member because he's one of the 3 in line. If that's, but you can decide.
Cool, but let me go first. It should be quickly, guys.
Okay.
A few questions for Mr. Knott. I do want to reemphasize what the gentlelady from Texas said, which is, of course, the civil standard of proof is different from the criminal standard of proof. The criminal standard of proof that governs is beyond a reasonable doubt for both citizens and non-citizens before someone's criminally convicted. In the civil context, depending on specifically which one, it could be by preponderance of the evidence, it could be clear and convincing evidence. There are different ways of formulating it, but the critical point for everybody to understand is that the Supreme Court has said on a 9-0 basis that there must be due process before people are removed from the country. Okay, I want to get back to Mr. Knott. because the distinguished chairman of our committee advanced some questions, and of course it's always dangerous to base your image of what legislation does based on one hypothetical. So he offered a hypothetical relating to opioids and cartels. There's nothing in the language of your bill that requires proof of somebody being involved in a cartel or dealing opioids, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
That's not an element. Okay. And then our distinguished colleague from California, Mr. Correa, he offered a kind of different hypothetical.
Yes.
And of course, the chairman's is perfectly plausible, but his is perfectly plausible too. He says, you've got people, there are tens of millions of them, who are coming to America drawn by employers who are willing to pay them. And there are tens of millions of them working in the fields, working in retail, working in construction, doing landscaping, and so on. A person, now, and here's where I want you to just help us tease out the meaning of your legislation, okay? The person I'm hypothesizing here is not an opioid dealer or a cartel member. This person has come over in the spirit of the people that our colleague from California is talking about. So comes to take a job on the farms, but he's there illegally. Now gets deported. So that's strike number one. He could be held for 6 months under current law.
Existing law.
Existing law.
Yep.
If he does it again, it's 2 years, but you want to change that to 5 years.
No.
No?